Welcome to Guided by Third Wheel, the podcast. My name is Amber Ireland, and I'm here with my co-host, Jill Bucaro. Let's get started.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hope everyone is having a good start to their day whenever they are listening to this. Amber and I decided today that we are going to read some questions off of these cards. I think they're called Tales cards, right?
Yeah, they're like a life story interviewing kit that we got for podcast ideas and for other things. And so we're going to use them today.
We're going to use them. So we just have the deck here of cards. And this made Amber nervous, but I thought it would be fun if we just like spontaneously pulled one. Like we did not plan which one we're going to pull.
Never nervous to pull an oracle or tarot card. Very nervous to pull a question card for myself to answer.
So we are going to pull a card. I am the shuffler today. So shuffle. All right. I pulled, what advice would you give to your teenage self?
Ooh.
This is kind of a hard one. Okay. So what advice would you give to your teenage self, Amber?
Well, let me give some backstory on who my teenage self was, because she is very different than I am now. Maybe a lot of people felt this way, but I felt when I was a teenager, like, it was like this constant trying to like fit in, right?
Yes.
Like there was just this constant focus on like, am I good enough? Do I have the right friends? Do I have a boyfriend? Like, I mean, just, all of those things that I think are pretty common for teenagers.
Yes. I was so worried about what other people thought about me and what other people wanted me to be. And I wish I would have spent some of that fresh, unjaded brain power on like, who am I?
Right.
Taking some of that inward focus, right? And just really thinking about like, what do I like? Who do I like? What makes me happy? Like you said, you are good enough. And I don't know if developmentally any teenager can get there.
Right.
I don't know, because I don't really know of many teenagers that are. But yeah, I think my biggest regret, or not regret, but if I could just be like, Jill, no, would be like, take all of that outward focus and like give yourself some of that love and attention.
Right.
Because like you said, so preoccupied about like, do I fit in? What are the cool clothes to wear, right? What are the cool things to do? What, all of that just kind of stuff.
So you brought up cool clothes. So I remember as a teenager, it was a big deal if you wore the same thing twice. It was like a major no-no if you wanted to be
certainly
cool.
Not like within a couple weeks of each other.
So I kept a calendar of what I wore so that I would not forget. Because, like you're a teenager, you are thinking about your clothes, but in the same, you're not. And also you might not be doing your own laundry. Like there's like a whole lot of things going on there. But like, why was my priority ever to keep this weird calendar in my closet to say?
That was Amber, that was so important. Like you could not wear the same thing like within a couple of weeks. People would like make fun of you.
Yes.
Or maybe they even wouldn't. You were just afraid that they would. I don't know. Well, but I remember being so preoccupied about what I was wearing.
I don't remember anybody ever noticing. I don't even know where it came from. Maybe there were like a couple kids, and they probably were kids that just didn't have a lot. And so they wore or they were like way smarter than the rest of us. And they're like, fuck this shit. Like, I'm just going to I've got like 12 of the same t-shirt that I like, and that's what I'm going to wear. Like they had already matured to that place that a lot of adults already have.
Yes.
Where it's like, I have some stuff that I wear, and also like,
who cares?
Yeah.
Who literally cares? Yeah. No, I think, yes. The advice I would give to teenage Jill is like, please stop caring so much about what everyone else thinks, about what your friends think and your peers think and your parents think. I just like, stop trying to be what you think everyone else wants you to be, and just be yourself. And just don't worry about all that stupid shit. That's the advice. Any other advice you would give to your teenage self?
I think just like you said, like that reflecting inwards and realizing like, you don't notice when these things are
Right.
going on with other people. So why do you think people are really paying that much attention to what's going on with you? And maybe spend a little bit more time, like, I don't, being nice to, like, I wasn't necessarily nice to people. I wasn't nice to myself, but I sure as hell wasn't nice to
I
a
wasn't
lot of
very
people.
nice either. No. And it's just, and I think I wasn't nice out of that fear of like, I have to be cool, look cool, do all of that stuff. But yeah, and then it's like, I do remember that realization, like in college and like in my early 20s, that it's like, oh no, like a cool person, like is a person who is nice to everybody, right? Who is kind, who is open, who is engaging, who like goes out of their way to like say hi, right? Like I would never want to be the first, like when I was a teenager, I would never like be the first person to like reach out, right? Because that was like uncool or whatever, you know, and I would never, I don't know, like it was just, and I'm sure it was all self-esteem rooted, right? But it's like I never wanted to be vulnerable. I never wanted to like go out on a limb for somebody else, right? And then it's like you learn later on, like, oh no, that's what really actually builds like authentic connection and friendships and makes it so you can have meaningful people in your life.
Yeah.
Do you want me to pull another card?
Yeah, let's pull another card. I think we've talked all about the advice we would give to our teenage selves. And I think advice that I would give to other teenagers, like if you have
if you have teenagers, what would you tell a teenager right now in 2024?
Ooh. So much has changed, and I think some things are better.
Yes.
To some degree. Like there is a lot of ability to see body positivity.
Yes,
there is
so
a lot of
better.
ability to see people standing up against other people bullying. There is a lot more acceptance of diversity and people just, you know, being their authentic selves. But I would still say make sure that, like, in all of that, because I think sometimes you get into a place where you're like body positivity, but then there's still like this pull and this judgment that is coming from your peers. Like it's not completely pure, right? And just making sure that like you're really living in your joy and recognizing that like you're allowed to. You're allowed to. You know, you don't have to ask permission to be happy. As kids, it's hard, right? Because you're constantly asking permission for everything. Like you don't have a lot of agency. So it's like, you know, I have to ask permission to go to the store. I have to ask permission to hang out with your friends. But you shouldn't have to ask permission to live authentically in your joy.
No, you should not. No, I think that is excellent advice. I think kids now or teenagers now, like you said, there are a lot of things that I think they are wiser about than maybe I was. And I think like the body stuff is one. You know, I think there is space now for people to, you know, to be authentically themselves, whether it's like gender identity or sexual orientation or just like things that they like. Like I think like nerdiness is a little more celebrated now than it was, you know, back when we were, you know, and I think that younger people are better at that piece. But I do sometimes worry, like with all the social media stuff and all of this focus that I think is good on like, you know, let me live my authentic truth, right, and be who I am. I worry sometimes about like the interrelational pieces with younger people. Like, you know, I wonder sometimes like, yes, we have to like live our truth and be ourselves, but we also have to understand that we are part of like this broader ecosystem of people, right? And sometimes we do have to make ourselves a little bit uncomfortable, you know, for someone else, right? And some of that give and take, I don't feel like I see as much in younger people that I work with or that I mentor, that I see come through. So maybe that's the advice I would give to people now. I feel like for us, it was the opposite. It was like twist yourself into a pretzel, do whatever everybody else wants you to do. Don't ever think for 1 second about what you want, right? And I feel like that pendulum has almost swung a little bit far in the other direction. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm articulating that well.
Yeah, I think it does. I think making sure that you're being compassionate in the way that you're showing up in the world always. You can show up as yourself and still be compassionate to other people and other people's views and other people's stances on things. Also, don't put up with bullshit. Like that, I think that's where I was thinking about earlier is don't put up with bullshit. And don't put people in boxes and don't put yourself in a box. Because I think with teenagers, like when you're a kid, it's very easy to allow those things to happen because that's what you're used to. That's what you you're just coming into being,
yes,
somewhat of like a semi-adult here, right? You're like trying to flex some autonomy, and you've always had to allow people to like put you into whatever box they want.
Sure.
You've had to put up with what everybody else's rules were, or whatever the criteria was around you. And I would say, as you're becoming a teenager and you're starting to realize that maybe some of those things aren't for you,
yes,
that you start to speak up and say, hey, I'm not really available for this at this point in time. But I think there's a way to communicate that with the people that you love in a compassionate way, and also stand up for yourself in a way that can be honored by other people, hopefully.
Yeah. Which is a tall order for a teenager. That's a tall order for an adult.
God, yeah, it's hard.
I agree with you. I think that's some of the advice that I would give, right? I always am like, no one ever told us life was going to be this way. I think I tell a teenager, like, listen, life is hard as fuck, right?
Right.
Dude, and it just keeps getting harder.
Yeah.
Stop thinking that next year is going to be easier, because it never is going to be. And I think the way you get through that is all of those things we just said. Be true to yourself, all of that.
I just think about, as a teenager, had I been open to doing any work on myself, because I wasn't. It was just like, let me make myself whatever everyone else needs me to be, right? In order to fit in order to feel loved, in order to be accepted, or at least feel accepted. Had I spent any of that time doing some internal work, I think about like where I would be now, and the internal work that I would have, because once you get older, there's just, all of those layers that have been built, right?
Yes.
I look sometimes at my own kids who much younger started doing the work. We're open to doing the work. We're open to dealing with, traumas and feelings, and doing therapy and those types of things that like weren't really presented to me as an option necessarily, but also like I had no frame of reference as to how to use that.
Yeah,
right?
that was even a thing. Well, I think when we were teenagers, like, only kids who were like really crazy like went to therapy.
Well,
right?
They did send me to the school counselor when I was very little.
Really crazy.
Yeah.
But like it just wasn't. I think the availability wasn't there. I think the stigma was super high. And when you say, because sometimes I do feel like I go in this spiral, like the world is going to shit, like we're all falling apart. But I do think there's so many things that are better for teenagers now. And like you said, there's things that are worse too, but you don't have that stigma around therapy.
Right.
You don't have that stigma around mental health. Kids, I had so many friends that like identified as like gay or bisexual and like literally could not come out. Like, and I know there are certainly still instances where that's happening, but I don't think it happens at the rate that it did 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
And where you can't come out to anyone. I mean, there certainly are probably a lot of teenagers right now who cannot come out to their family. Like there are still, families who are not going to be accepting of that, or the teenager doesn't feel like their family's going to be accepting. But there's all of these other resources that are available to them online and, in their communities where they can come out to someone and be safe. Where I think, like you said, when we were teenagers, it was a rare occasion that somebody could come out to anyone.
Yes. Well, and I think there was, and that's where we talk about all the time, like in the field and stuff, that representation matters, right? There weren't like a lot of like gay role models or trans role models or people speaking out, out in the communities. I do think that representation and diversity piece hopefully feels better for kids now, because I do feel like I knew a lot of people that struggled with that.
Right. And I have one more thing, because I'm just thinking about, putting people into boxes, and I love that we have so many boxes, right? We've expanded our box choice in the world, but I also think we're still putting people into boxes.
Yes. It's like there's more boxes, but there's still the labeling.
Right. And
the building of walls around people.
Right. And I think labeling of choice is helpful sometimes, right? Because it gives me language to share who I am so that other people can understand. Also, I feel like now you've got more boxes that kids are going into. We're being inclusive in that we are recognizing all the boxes, but what if we just got rid of the boxes?
What if there did not have to be boxes at all? Well, because boxes inherently like have walls, right? Which like trap people into them. Yeah.
Right. And they also feel safe sometimes to be like, this is my box.
Right, let me like chill in my box. But I think, yeah, that is, and maybe that's some of the advice too, is just like, that I would tell myself, like, just be a little bit more curious about that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, live in the gray area a little bit. But I think there's so much fear too. And again, like I said at the beginning, I think it's interesting to think about because I always say, like, what if I would have known what I know now then? Or like, what if, you know, I would have done what I'm doing now then? But it's like, was I ready to do it yet?
No.
If I gave the advice, would I have even
Right.
received it? Maybe somebody did give me the advice, right? And I'm like, you are an idiot. And I am going to map out all of my Abercrombie shirts to make sure I don't wear the same one twice.
In a month. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I have much bigger fish to fry than whatever bullshit you're trying to tell me.
Right. Yeah.
All right, let's do another one.
All right.
Okay, what kind of movies, music, and books do you enjoy now?
Movies, music, and books.
Me, I hate a movie. I cannot watch a movie anymore. I can't sit still that long.
Yeah, I need my favorite movies are movies that are an hour and a half or shorter. No specific topic.
Ain't nobody got time.
Just
to be
an hour and a half or shorter.
Movie.
Recently, I saw the new Bob Marley movie.
How was the new Bob Marley movie?
It was really good. I enjoyed it. It's not super long.
Excellent.
Very engaging. Very interesting to the history of Jamaica and how Bob Marley influenced that, but not like in a, you know, weird like textbook type of a way. I guess I do like things that are like autobiographical.
Yeah, I think that like autobiographies or like historical fiction. Do you like some stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. So it just depends though. It's like I only want historical fiction about things that I'm interested in. Right?
Like only periods of time, only history that I like.
But I do like to hear about like real life stuff.
Yeah, I do like that. I like that kind of stuff as well. Like I really like I was really interested in seeing the Bob Marley movie. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, I don't mind like historical fiction type movies, like maybe about different war times. I love the movie Just Mercy with Bryan Stevenson that talks about all the work. You need to see that movie. It talks about all the work that he does, like getting people exonerated off of death row, right? And the stories captured in that movie are more like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? Which is like, you know, history at this point in time. But yeah, I like but for movies, I like a rom-com movie.
I do too. In general, I'm going to want something that's a little lighter, especially if I have to sit for a long time. I do like a scary movie.
I hate a scary movie.
But only certain types of scary movies. I don't like a monster scary movie, like the Friday the 13th and stuff like those just don't appeal to me. I want a scary movie that maybe could really happen.
Ooh,
that's what I want.
Crazy. I do not want that.
I watched it on a plane. It was something about like an exorcism. It was like a Catholic priest. Maybe I don't know what the name of it was. It was probably called The Exorcist or something. It wasn't The Exorcist, but something like that along those lines. And that was kind of like historical and also a scary movie.
Almost like thrillery. I do like, so for books, I like a historical fiction book. Mm-hmm. I love a mystery thriller book. Like I used to like not be as much into like the thriller and scary books, but I love like a thriller book now. Like there's been a lot of popular ones lately, like The Silent Patient is one, or like Behind Closed Doors, or some other ones like that. And that's kind of the same thing. Like this could really happen, right? Like you just have like a diabolical person or, you know, a murder and something like that. So I do like a thriller book, but not a movie. It's too anxiety provoking for me.
TV shows, I like the same thing. Like I like Kindred Spirits. That's like my most favorite one, and I've watched them all, and I just want them to come out with a whole new season of it. But I'm always careful about like how much of it I watch, because I also think that it influences me spiritually. Like when I watch it too much in the house, and then it stirs up some shit, and I have to then pull that back down before I can start watching it again. But I do enjoy that. And with books, I mean, I like a self-help book.
Sure. Obviously, we both like those.
Like definitely I like an instructional, like a book where I'm going to learn something new on a topic that I'm excited about. But if I'm going to read fiction, I guess I read Lamb, about Biff, Jesus's childhood friend, and that was hilarious and kind of sort of like a historical fiction. Like it kind of went along with like some biblical themes, but then also with some themes around Buddhism and Qigong. It was really good. Generally, I like things about witches. I like to read a fiction book about witches that feels like it could be real, you know?
Yeah, I hate a book where I learn something. I hate
that's
a
like
nonfiction book. I've always been a huge reader. Like, I mean, Teenage Jill was a super nerd. I love to read, and I love to read fiction. And yeah, I think I like thrillers, I like historical fiction, I like mysteries. I don't mind like a little romance. Usually if I'm going to have like a book that's like a romance, I would like there to be something else happening also. Like I would like us to be like solving a crime or like figuring out a mystery or like something else happening. But I like the love theme throughout. But just like I used to read more like romances where it's just like dumb girl meets dumb boy. They fall, and I don't know, I'm kind of over that shit now. Yeah. I hate movies. TV shows. I love true crime.
Yeah.
I've been reading another self-help book, which actually is fantastic. It's called How to Do the Work. We did a blog on it by Dr. Nicole LaPera, and Hallie, who does our blogs, was like, Jill, you have to read this. It's fantastic. It's a really good book. Talks a lot about the mind, body, spirit connection with like wellness and mood and trauma and all of that kind of stuff. And she talks a lot in there about how people who have like kind of high stress jobs and high stress lives love true crime because it's a way for us to continue to get the hits of cortisol even as we're quote unquote relaxing, because our body gets like addicted to the cortisol, right? So I'm like, oh, well, this is probably why I like true crime. But I love true crime. I love Snapped. I love Homicide at the Holidays. I mean, any like Oxygen HD, like terrible series. That's my favorite. But I have been trying to watch, now that I've read that in the book, I've been trying to watch more like lighthearted TV. I do really love Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
Love Schitt's Creek and Dan Levy. I've been rewatching that right now.
We say ooh David all the time. Well, my partner's name is David. So just like any chance I get that I can say ooh David.
And Schitt's Creek is just like such a feel good, lighthearted.
It is.
It's good for my soul. So I've been trying to do happy things.
Have you watched Ted Lasso?
So Ted Lasso, I want to watch it, but no, I have not.
That one is so good. That is what we watch in this house when it's like, we just need to like sit here and laugh a little and like feel some joy because you just like giggle the whole time.
That's what everybody says. They're like, the show is like too pure for this world.
Yeah,
maybe
I love
should
that.
Watch Ted Lasso. Maybe I should lay off the murder and watch some Ted
I
Lasso.
also like to watch stand-up comedy. Right now, Fortune Feimster is just so fucking hilarious. I follow her online. I mean, she is hilarious. And she has a podcast with two other comedians, Mae Martin, who has a TV show on Netflix that I've watched that I really like. And it has Phoebe from Friends in it. Is her mom, is Mae Martin's mom. And so that's a good TV series to watch. But Mae Martin and Tig Notaro is in it. I mean, it is hysterical. They get a question from a celebrity on every podcast. They ask them, like, what would you do in this situation? And then they just go through and answer. But it's like their own little comedy show as they're going. It's called The Handsome Pod.
The Handsome Pod.
Handsome, okay. Yes. It is so... Oh my God, it's hilarious. I love that. I love watching stand-up comedy. What other things were books? Oh, music. I love music. Do you love music?
No. That's like, I have like a lot of unpopular things about myself. Like, I don't like dogs. I don't like the beach. And I don't like love music. Like there are certain, I listen mostly to country music. I do live in Dayton, Ohio, right? I feel like I get a free pass for my terrible choice of music.
Country music is good.
I listen mostly to country. I do like some early 2000s kind of like pop and rock. You know, I'm like an old person, right? Like I like to listen to like the songs that were popular when I was a teenager. So I like some angsty music like that. But I'm not like a big music girl.
Oh, I love music. I love music. I love a concert. This is older, but we did score tickets to the Ludacris concert at the Phrase.
I'm going to the Ludacris concert at the Phrase.
Okay,
Are you in the lawn?
Nope, I got seats.
Oh, you're fancy.
It was like in the very last row on the left. So, look for
I'll be
me.
by you in the lawn.
We will hang out together. But I did score Ludacris concert tickets, so I'm super excited about that. I'm sure it will be a lot of middle-aged folks hanging out with Ludacris.
For people that don't live in Dayton, we don't get like a lot of concerts here in the beautiful city of Dayton, Ohio, but we do have this like small outdoor venue called The Phrase in a suburb, Kettering. It's actually like literally 2 blocks from where I grew up, where my parents live, and every once in a while, they get, like, some heavy hitters at the Phrase. Yeah. Like, 20 years later, like, Backstreet Boys came to the Phrase. Yes. I went to that. Last year, Nelly came to the Phrase.
I did not see Nelly.
I went to Nelly. I mean, it did get cut short by, like, a weird tornado thunderstorm.
Did you go to the 90s concerts? Like, the 80s? There were 90s concerts?
So there have been a couple. I did not go to, like, there was, like, Salt and Peppa came one time. I went
I held their hand while they were on the stage.
Oh, my God.
Look at me.
I went when Sugar Ray came, which was phenomenal.
I went to that one too.
That was a great concert. But yeah, so anyways, those of us in Dayton, we get very excited. Like once every couple of years, like a heavy hitter comes, and this year it is Ludacris. And like the internet broke yesterday in Dayton.
I know. They sold out. They sold out fairly quick for the Phrase.
As everyone scrambled for their Ludacris ticket.
We saw Jelly Roll last year in Cincinnati, and just the most amazing concert.
I mean, I am a huge Jelly Roll fan. I follow him on Instagram and TikTok and stuff, and his wife. But yeah, his story is it's just incredible. Anyone who wants one thing I like to do that's not on here is I love to watch like inspirational like clips on YouTube. And one of the like clips I love to watch is Jelly Roll from when he won like Best Emerging Artist, right? Or Hottest New Artist or whatever it is at the Grammys for like the New Artist Award last year. And he's 39 years old and he gives this speech and he's like, how poetic is it that a 39-year-old is winning like Best New Artist, right? And he gives a speech about like, don't give up on your dreams and like keep looking forward and keep moving forward. And it's just, so if anybody wants just like 30 seconds of like a nice dopamine hit, I recommend listening to his acceptance speech at the Grammys because it was fantastic.
That's something that we watch a lot on TV is we'll pull up YouTube and we'll watch like different like concert type things on there, like, from different artists.
Yeah.
I enjoy that too, like with my music. Elle King is really good in concert. I think right now she's on a little bit of a hiatus. There was a little
she's had a
little opry
drama. I saw her at country concert this past summer, and I thought she was phenomenal.
Oh God, she is. She's wonderful, and I hope she gets back at it, in a better, healthy way.
Exactly. All right, let's do another one. What are some mottos you live by?
Your journey is guided.
Your journey is guided.
Pull it right out. Your journey is guided. Just to remind myself that everything that is happening in my life is for my highest good, and it's being guided as long as I'm staying in the flow. Like I don't have to, I have to deal with it. I have to, embrace it. I have to be grateful. I have to learn from things. But at the end of the day, this is what is supposed to happen for my highest good. And I find a lot of peace in that and making sure that, even, obviously it's very easy to find peace in the good times, right?
Right.
But when things happen that maybe I don't particularly care for, or things change in a way that I didn't think were going to happen, just remembering like, okay, there's a reason for this, and you need to work through your feelings about this, and you need to work through old stories that might come up because of this, and this was for your highest good, so embrace it.
Yeah. I think there's a couple things I say a lot, but one of them is the universe unfolds as it should, which I think is all of the same things you just said, that like there is a reason that this is happening, think about it, reflect on it. Almost like that surrender piece of it, right? Get to exactly what you're saying, like get in that groove of it and understand that, things are meant to happen this way. And even if you don't understand the why of it, trust and believe and surrender. So I say that a lot. The universe is unfolding as it should. this isn't a motto, but it's a thing I believe. Like, I really live under the assumption that all people are basically good.
Yes.
Yep. I think that informs the work that I do when I get frustrated with people, whether they're clients or colleagues or family members or friends. I truly think that everybody is out here doing the best that they can with the resources that they have.
Right.
But I'm not that I'm excusing people's behavior, right? Because I understand that unresolved trauma, unresolved shit makes us bleed out and hurt the people around us.
Right.
And I'm not excusing that behavior, but I think I really try to think about the why of it, and that helps me not take things personally. That helps me understand, again, the universe unfolds as it should. And we're also just all kind of like bumbling our way through, like doing our best. I really like, there's a country song that's like, we're all just walking each other home. Have you heard that song? I think about that a lot too.
Yeah.
Especially in the work that I get to do. Like, sometimes I have the privilege of truly walking people home, of being with them in the last, days, weeks, or months of their lives, and giving them, that dignity and that connection.
Right.
During that. So I like that. I think that is kind of poetic and beautiful too.
It's easy when you meet people that you really like click with and you're just like, oh, this is really great. But when you meet people that you're like, damn it, why are you here? Right? Just remembering that this person is here for a reason, right? This is no accident.
Yes.
That we are meeting. And so even if you are frustrating to me, even if you are stressful to me, in this moment, how can I make sure that whatever it is that we are supposed to be doing here together is fulfilled?
Yes.
What am I supposed to learn from you? And knowing always, because I think in the profession that we're in, where you're meeting a lot of people who are coming to you for help, coming to you for services and those types of things, we get into this place of like, well, this person has to learn from me. Like, they're coming to me to learn something from me, and just remembering that I am also learning from them just as much as they're learning from me. And in honoring that, and sometimes naming that with the other person in order to kind of help build them up as well, to let them know that they are as important in this journey.
Yes, absolutely. And some of that comes from being present too. Like, I think it's very easy to just kind of like get in the routine of meeting new people, whether it's like at work, like whether it's just like the constant churn of clients, whether it's your coworkers, whether it is just even like new friends. Like, that can almost start to feel very routine, right? But when you check back in, that's when you start to see, the lessons and the learning and some of that. And I was thinking about when you were talking, I have a case right now that I've been working for a while, probably about 6 months at this point. And it's an innocence case. There's just a lot going on. There's a lot about the case that brought up what we in social work we call our countertransference, right? Or our shit. A lot about this case has triggered some of my own shit. A lot of it resonates with just experiences that I've had, and it has been so difficult, right? And luckily this client and I have a really good relationship, but I was just thinking about what you said, like, man, I really have learned a lot doing this work. I think he's taught me a lot. I think just the circumstances of everything that has gone down has really caused me to like engage in a lot of reflection, and it's just kind of like fucked me up a little bit, you know? But I think the way that I'm like working through that is, like you said, is like I'm honoring the experience, right? And obviously like what feels like a horrific, awful situation, because it is, is part of his story, it's part of my story, it's part of a bunch of people's stories for a reason.
Right.
And what are we going to do about it? And I think honoring that lesson piece has helped me get through it. Because it's been hard, man. But that is, and that's the hard side of the coin, right? And then the beautiful side of the coin of this work is just like how cool that I get to have a job every day where I get to learn and stretch and grow.
Right. In so many different ways, right? And I think we, even people that aren't in the social work field, no matter what you're doing out in the world, if you're interacting, and hopefully you are, with other people, you have tons of opportunities to learn and grow, tons of times that somebody is reflecting back to you something about yourself, bringing up something inside of yourself. And that could be good or it could be uncomfortable. And you have all of those opportunities to sit back and be like, what was that? You know, do I want to maybe dig a little deeper here? And oftentimes I look at places in my life where I have changed or where I have chosen to grow, because growth is a choice, you know, otherwise you're just getting slapped in the face and taking it, right?
Yeah.
Growth is a choice. So a lot of times I look back when I feel like I've, you know, kind of hit like, oh, okay, I feel good about this. And I can see, you know, all of the people who have reflected something back to me that have made me like kind of turn and look at things a different way. And sometimes it wasn't in the most graceful of ways, you know.
No.
Sometimes people, you know, them being what we would consider at the time ugly to you, brings something forward in you that you're like, oh.
Well, and I think it goes back to like what we were saying, like either the journey is guided or the universe unfolds as it should, you know. I think that's when I get that I really can remember that when I look back, right? When I say like, man, when I didn't get this opportunity that I really wanted, right? When something got taken from me that, you know, that I really loved or cherished, like it all in this weird, beautiful, fucked up way, you know, wove itself together.
Right.
So I could, you know, learn these lessons that I came here to learn. So, and I think my other quote that I love, another kind of motto, and I'm going to butcher it. It's essentially a quote that goes something like this. And it says, if you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your destiny is bound up with mine, then let us work together. And I forget who said it. I believe it's an Indigenous woman in Australia, maybe, where it comes from. But regardless, I think about that a lot just in the work that we do, too. Like you said, like, I am not here to just like, you know, be like, I am here to help. I am here to impart my wisdom.
Right.
No, I'm here to participate.
Right.
Right. In this journey with everyone around me, because liberation is not like a one-way street. That is something that we all have to participate in together.
And we don't have random encounters. When I start thinking things are random is where I start to disconnect and I start to see myself as different than you. And I really need to see myself as the same, because we are the same. The only difference between us is we have these outer shells that look different, but we are the same. And when I see you as random, then now you are othered. But if I see you as part of my journey, as something that was intentional, as someone that I am bound to, in a more energetic and life journey type of a way, even for a moment, you know, then now I can see you as part of my journey and me as part of yours. And the interaction becomes more compassionate. The interaction becomes more fulfilling. The interaction becomes more purposeful. Instead of, you know, just, you know, I'll just give you the same answer that I give everybody else because you're just the, you know, the third person I've talked to today.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like understanding, that divine or that light inside of them is the same exact light and divine that is inside of you. And that, at your point, when it all shakes down, we are all the same anyway. We are all of the same even. So, So I think those are some of the just mottos and ideas and things that I try to live by.
And I wish my teenage self would have understood that.
True. I wish.
You know.
But I think that she just hadn't had enough yet.
She didn't know yet that we were all here for a purpose, but she didn't know her purpose yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, and that's hard too. Even for me now, like I have a friend, he's always like, what do you think like we're all doing here? Like, what do you think the point is? And I'm like, I don't know the point, right? I always say like, I don't feel like I know the point. Like I know how to play it. Like, I feel good about how to play it, right? Which is like all of those things that we just said, right? Being compassionate, honoring people around me, leaving the world a better place, you know, than I found it, right? I feel good about how to do it, but I think there is that mystery, right? In that we don't know why we're here or what the point is. But I just think about like, but this is how I'm going to play it.
You know, what is the point of us being here? The point of us being here is to love each other. I mean, that is the point. That we work together, that we show compassion and love for ourselves, which means we are showing compassion and love for everyone else.
Yeah.
And the other side of that coin is we don't really need to know the point if we can live from that place.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think we need to know. I'm with you on that. I'm always like, I don't know. Stop asking. Right. What does it matter?
And I think everybody's point or purpose is a little different in the way that it plays out. And we all just have to follow our own path, right? And we meet up when we meet up, and we part ways when we part ways, and understanding that is what your soul's supposed to be doing in this lifetime.
Yeah. Absolutely. We talked a lot.
We went from planning out your clothes every month in order to fit in all the way to, what is the meaning of life?
What is the meaning of life? We have covered ground. True crime, some comedians, Jelly Roll. We had some fun detours along the way. But yeah, these cards are cool. We might do a couple more episodes with these. Maybe you guys learn a little bit more about us and engage in some reflection. And these cards are fun. I think they'd be fun to do with friends or family. Right. Should we call it?
Yep.
All right.
I think so.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of Guided by Third Wheel, the podcast. We would be honored if you would like, rate, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, be well.